Hello everyone, I'm back today with another car to look at. This one I borrowed from my sister, so I kind of introduced this in the last video that I had that was sort of an update and rant. But this is a 2007 Honda Civic, and this is the EX. Yesterday I referenced it as an LX. We were looking at a number of them, and I just couldn't remember which one I was looking at. So this is one that she just bought to replace her 2007 or 8 Ford Fusion, which was problematic. So kind of a sideways move. The Fusion was an SEL, so top trim. It was all-wheel drive. A really nice car, but it just kept having issue after issue. The mileage wasn't too high on it either, about 135,000, which is what this car is. So it's not really any newer. You know, it's not any older. The mileage is about the same, but kind of a sideways move, but hopefully for something that's a little bit more reliable. So let's take a look. So again, back to the other video there. This car needs a couple things to it yet, but the headlamps. So yesterday I was filming in the rain. This one here is a little bit cloudy. So guess who will be taking care of that? The Honda badge there is missing, which I think the dealership will take care of. And then this headlamp's nice and clean. But this car hasn't been in an accident, so I'm not sure what happened to it, but not too bad. There's nice 16-inch alloy wheels on this car, good tires and brakes all around. This one does have the mud flaps, and they are kind of loose in the back. They are kind of dangling, so that'll also need to be straightened out. A pretty simple design. Some noteworthy things with this. We'll get into this a little bit later when we drive, but there's not much of a hood on this car. It's very short and very low. It looks nice, but very, very different. We'll take a look at that later when we drive. There's also a lot of space here for the wipers, which is kind of interesting. They also are mounted on the outside edges of the windshield. And then there's these little windows here forward of the mirrors, which is kind of, I guess, more of a design thing, but there's some extra added visibility there that if they wouldn't be there, you'd miss. Not too much here. These door handles, the only thing that I found kind of interesting about that is that my grandparents have a 2007 Honda Accord, and I think these are the same Honda door handles, so something silly, but I just noticed that. There's some molding down at the bottom of the door there. Not too much to look at here. Just a nice simple design. Nothing too crazy. So we'll take a look in the trunk. So I don't have the key on me, so there's this release here that you press to open the fuel filler door, and then pull to release the trunk. So take a look inside. A couple things here. These hinges or arms for the trunk are nicely covered in plastic, and there's fabric on the underside of the hood. There's a lot of really nice cars out there that don't do those things, so that's kind of a nice feature. A nice toolkit in here that somebody supplied for her. Underneath, not much storage or anything, just a little bit around the outside, but there is the spare tire and jack, and other things there that you might need. Just put that back. Underneath here you have the releases for the rear seats to fold them down. Nothing too crazy. I do have to watch with this trunk lid. Every car that I drive, the trunk, sometimes they'll want to pop right open and they're very light. Sometimes they're heavy. You have to not slam them. Sometimes they need slam from the top. So, always something different. We'll take a look under the hood here. It's just kind of near the highway here. It's kind of loud over there, one of those motorcycles. We also have snow over here yet. So most of that snow melted. It was really warm out for a couple days, and today it's about, I'll just get this hood prop up. Today it's about 50-55 degrees out right now. So everything underneath the hood is nice and clean, but not super clean. This hasn't been detailed, but there's nothing really that needs to be detailed about it. This is fine for a normal daily driver car. A couple things here to note is this: the opening for the trunk is or the hood I should say, is very narrow. Kind of different than some of the cars that I'm used to. Also, the brake master cylinder and reservoir are up here, and then the ABS pump is down there. That's kind of interesting. I don't think I've really seen many cars where they're that far apart. But then also this oil dipstick is plastic the whole way down. Usually they're metal, so that's kind of different. I don't think I've seen that before either. small battery on this one as well. So interesting. Nothing too crazy under the hood here. This is a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine, makes 140 horsepower and 128 for the torque spec there, and that's mated to a 5-speed automatic transmission. Let's take a look at a couple different things here. Looking at the inside, the door handles on this car are kind of neat in that you kind of reach forward. Most cars this would just kind of almost taper off and you'd grab this, but this you have this nice big grab, so actually really practical. And then this this pocket here, you have nice storage in this car, but I like these little cutouts. Actually, this one doesn't matter because when you're in the car and sitting next to it, you can kind of see in, but sitting in the driver's seat, you can see through those slots, you can see anything that was in that tray. So I kind of like that. That's a nice feature. I'll tell you what, before we'll look in the back seat first before we look at everything in the front. Nothing too crazy here. Nice storage here on the doors. Same on the other side. There's a pocket on the back of the passenger seat here. Armrest that folds down with some kind of small but nice cup holders there. Again, these seats fold down. The headrests are adjustable. Nice grab handles overhead. Pretty nice. One thing I really like is that the floor is nearly flat. It goes up maybe an inch in the middle there. So, you know, for me to sit in the car, there's I'm 5'10" or so. It's a little tight, but very doable. The interesting thing is that the center seat, when I move to that, the center seat's very narrow, but that's to be expected with a car like this. But at least you have actually pretty decent leg room, so that's kind of impressive. I'll crawl around and we'll take a look at the front. Close the door here and get. So we'll start this up and get a little bit of heat on here. Turn that off. Okay, so again, window switches here. The driver's window is automatic. This is the lockout button for the rear windows and the passenger side window. Lock and unlock here. This button is part of the mirror adjustment. On this side, again, nice bin here, and a nice, actually kind of a small but really almost hidden bin down there as well. Nice dead pedal here on the side, and these settings here. So this one goes through the different trip computer options. So you've got the odometer there, and then the temperature, and then trip A and B, and then the oil life, and then back to that display. And then to the side here, if you press and hold that one for just a few seconds, it'll change to displaying your speed and your odometer and trip meter in kilometers per hour, which is really interesting because usually that's a menu that's buried in some sub menu somewhere else in the car, but it's kind of cool to be able to change it just like that. That's really neat. I like that. Then this one here, so this one here in the center looks like a button. It's not, it's just a display. This is for setting the brightness in the instrument cluster. So if you can see, if we press this one, it's up to the highest setting right now, but if you press this down, the odometer becomes a display of how high or low you have the brightness, which is kind of interesting. I like that for instrumentation. That's kind of cool. I'll just make that disappear. And we'll get back to the display in a minute. Turn signal here with the control for the lights. On this side, you have the wiper controls with the intermittent setting there. On the steering wheel, you have this button here, which controls I believe this controls the presets. It does. And then you have volume and then mode. More on the different modes later. These are the cruise control settings. So for the stereo here, or the radio, nice digital clock. When you turn this on, you have not too many different options here. You have the CD player, AM, FM, FM 1 and 2, AM, I mentioned that. The CD, AM, or I'm sorry, XM and auxiliary. There's a little plug. It's kind of dark, but down here there's an auxiliary plug there, power outlet up above it. I like these nice buttons, nice and large, and I like cars that have actually a tuning knob as opposed to some other method for entry where it's seek and scan, or else you can enter a manual mode. I like a good old-fashioned knob that really makes it actually a lot easier to input certain settings. Fan control down here. This is all the adjustments for the air and defrost, and then your thermostat or temperature adjuster there. You can go through here, different settings for the CDs. You can turn that back off. Looking at the displays here, we'll kind of have to do one and then the other. So up here you have temperature on the left, fuel on the right, speed in the center there, and that's only digital, so there's no way to change that to an analog gauge. And then below it you have your tachometer, and then the screen here for you know, what gear you're in, and then any warning lights or any other information would be displayed to the left or to the right, and then the turn signals are actually up in this screen up here. So kind of interesting, and actually a very interesting dashboard overall, because the windshield's very far away from you. You really feel like you're back far from the edge of the car, and there's no point that you can look at to really see where the edge of the car is. So it's actually kind of vague to drive. It's a neat cockpit. It's very, very cool, but you do feel kind of pretty far away from the front edge of the car. Over here you have a nice glove box, and yeah, I don't know, not too fancy, not super big, but not too small either. Simple controls over here on the passenger side. You got your gear selector here. No manual mode or anything, just a lockout for certain gears there. Nice stiff feeling. This piece is a little bit loose. Not sure why that is, but the rest of the selector feels nice. Nice parking brake here. Cup holders here, and again another power outlet here, and pretty nice armrest and console there. And one last thing, the seat adjustments. So this is the recline setting, and then this one here is manual. You can adjust the height of the seat, which also moves it forward a little bit, and then you do have the bar underneath for backwards and forward. And again, nice grab handles up here, and then you've got the mirror there. Not liking that reflection. Anyway, no lights on those, just nice and simple. You got lights up here, and then this car does have a sunroof, so it will tilt up, but there's no vents. Nice simple sunshade there. It tilts up and then will also move back, and there is this nice wind deflector which comes up, so that's nice to have. And then this one here controls whether or not the lights come on when you open the door. Alright, so pretty nice overall. Let's take it out for a drive. Okay, so here I am just driving along here at 25-30 miles an hour or so. And a couple things I'm noticing about this car. The steering is pretty sharp. It's really nice. It's not a car that you have to constantly be making adjustments to keep it going in a straight line, but it does have nice light steering, which I like. Very, very tight. The acceleration is very nice as well. When you press the pedal, the car moves. It's not buried in gears. The engine revs freely, which is part of Honda's thing and part of what makes them so great. It is a little bit kind of loud in the cabin, more road noise than other cars, but not intolerable by any means. And you know, sometimes with a 5-speed, again, the car will just fall flat on its face when you try to accelerate. But five gears is really, I mean, that's about the right number. Now this car does have great fuel economy. I know sometimes extra gears, it's not just for power, it's for economy, but a car like this, I forgot to mention it, it's rated for 24, 25, one of the two, city, and then 36 highway, which is great. A nice efficient car. It's really easy to see why people like these. They're extremely practical, extremely reliable, just a nice driving car. Alright, I had to disconnect the microphone there. It cuts out at certain speeds. Just do a little acceleration test here. Alright, that's enough. That's not really what this car's about, but it does get up and going out of its own way pretty quick, which is really nice. And part of the way that Honda gets decent performance and also really good fuel economy out of their vehicles is that this car's really light. A lot of them are, but this one is really light, 27 to 2,800 pounds, which is definitely a lot lighter than the Chevy Impala for one. So you can definitely have a smaller engine and less displacement and still get the job done when you have that kind of a number. But the funny thing is about this car is it accelerates really nice, actually nicer than the Ford that my sister had. And when we test drove it, she mentioned about it feeling different at a certain RPM level, so I explained what VTEC was just because I'm a car bore and that's what I do. I didn't really think anything of it, and then we were having dinner the other night and she mentioned about VTEC kicking in and yo, which is just not something I'd really ever expect to hear her say. Kind of interesting. But yeah, this is just a nice driving car. The brakes feel nice as well. They really bite down and grab hard, which is really nice with a car like this. I guess I don't know. I guess all Hondas are kind of like that. I've driven a few, and they all seem to be that way. But the camera's kind of right in front of my face right now, to a point where you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. And I'll put the camera in a minute here. I'll put the camera up towards the headliner, and you can see, you still can't see the front of the car. So it must be really hard to park if you're pulling into a parking lot and they have the concrete thing that looks like a curb to stop you. So I don't know, inside joke there. So that's about it. It's about to get dark here, so we'll kind of wrap things up. So thanks for taking a look at this 8th generation Honda Civic. This isn't the most in-depth review. This is a 13, almost 14-year-old car, so it's not exactly new, and there's definitely a lot more detailed and in-depth reviews out there. Maybe just older ones, but still good reviews out there at this point. So this is kind of just my version of it. Thank you for watching. Consider, if you like the video, consider subscribing. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram now. I think I have no idea. I think Facebook is just Seth Saylor, and I'm listed as a public figure, and then Instagram is Seth Saylor Official. So you can follow along. I have a lot more behind-the-scenes things there. I don't. Sometimes if I don't have enough content for a video, I'll just post a couple pictures and things of some of the projects that I'm looking at. So, again, thanks for watching. Happy New Year.